To me, enough is enough. They just wanna hurt us, bring us down, bring us down. Enough is enough. We won't let them hurt us, bring us down, bring us down. Enough is enough.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Indie Wrestling Corner with another episode of Under the Ropes. I'm your host, as always, the queen of the indies, Tiffany. And today, this is a long time one that I've been wanting to do, and I feel like I keep running into you. So, welcome, my good friend Milo Mirra. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. I feel like I said, I've been seeing you like every weekend, like, in person, right?
Yeah. I think it's been like every weekend. But,
yeah.
It's been crazy recently. I've just been wrestling like every weekend, so or at shows. So.
Yeah, definitely at shows, whether you're wrestling, hanging out at shows, or whatever it is. Yeah, so I've definitely been running into you, so which is great. Mm-hmm. Guys, if you're new here to the Under Rope series, here I interview everything independent wrestling, whether it's wrestlers, promoters, referees, backstage, and I got you covered. If you guys got any questions for Milo, feel free, drop them into the chat. I'm sure he'll be more than happy to answer all of your questions. And please push the stream. Let's get some people in here. You know, it'll be kind of fun. It's a party. I feel like a lot of people are home today, which is great too. I already see a couple of people into the chat. Thanks, guys. What's going on? Ed's in the chat. He goes, "Let's go. Brother Steven is here." I feel like we have
That's
to
an old name.
This is crazy. So let's start off hot, because it's like a lot of times, like I kind of, like to start off with a certain way on this podcast, but I feel like we're going to start off hot. We're going to talk about like your pogo stick, and how this has made you insanely viral. That like every clip that's being posted, whether you post it or like somebody else post it, like I've seen million views happening. How crazy is this?
Oh, it's insane. I always knew that the pogo stick was gonna like go viral when I finally brought it out, but I wasn't really. I was pretty surprised at how much it took off immediately, right? It was like the first clip I posted with it, like kind of just went insanely viral. Like the first ever like crossbody I did off the pogo stick at Rad Bro, it got like 50,000 views, and I was like, whoa, okay. I'm like coming from an account that had like, I had less than like 1,000 followers. Like it wasn't like anything big. And then the Limitless clip came out from the Limitless Rumble, and it just blew up. Like the Limitless clip got 1 million views, my clip got 1 million views, the Twitter clip that Grapple Clips posted got 1 million views, then Bill Burr mentioned me on his podcast, that got more views. It just went nuts. It was like crazy. In like the matter of a week, it just went all insane. So
oh my goodness.
It's been nuts.
That's crazy. So like you knew like this was gonna be like hot pretty much. So go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, like, I knew that nobody had ever done it in wrestling before.
Yeah.
Right. Like, the pogo sticking community is pretty tight knit and niche. So I know pretty much. I always say to people that like if you ever see somebody do a backflip on a pogo stick, it's likely that they're one of my good friends. Yeah, so like I knew that nobody else had done this before, and that nobody else was going to do it, and that adding it into the wrestling world was gonna be an interesting and unique thing that just hasn't happened before. So, yeah.
then it's like your job. Like I tell this to like wrestlers all the time that it's your job, right, to get me on board. Never mind the fact of like promoters and all that stuff like that, but as a fan, right? Like someone like me, like there's a million wrestlers out there. I mean, this is what interview like 256 or whatever like that. But like, you know, there's a million wrestlers out there, and it's like, you know, you're all trying to get your spots, right, and to get noticed and everything like that. So where is the connection between you and the fan, right? Just as a wrestler and stuff like that. And I feel like that you've just established this, you know, that it's like, oh, this is something that nobody's done before, and it's very different, and just getting people on board. So so kudos to you for, you know, doing this. So, but talk to us a little bit, you know, a little bit more of like how you got into it. So again, like, you know, maybe fans are not as familiar and may not know your story. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, pogo sticking was the first love. You know, I've been a wrestling fan my whole life, but when I was like 8 years old, I was just scrolling on YouTube. I had actually like gotten for Christmas that year, I had gotten a pogo stick for Christmas. My parents just like saw it at the toy store and got it for me. But I like tried it and I wasn't able to do it, and I was like getting frustrated, and I was like, whatever. But then like I think like 2 weeks later, I'm scrolling YouTube, and on a featured video, there's this video. It's called Flybar 800 Flip Variations, and it's just this dude on a big pogo stick doing backflips on a pogo stick. And now me at 8 years old, I'm like, oh, I'm obsessed with like the X Games. I'm obsessed with skateboarding. I'm obsessed with action sports in general. And I see this guy doing flips on a pogo stick. I just got a pogo stick. I said, that's awesome. I want to do that. And so I went out in my garage and I immediately learned how to pogo stick. I was trying to do like basic tricks, you know, like no hand jumping and like one hand, no feet, things like that. Right. And then I was like, oh, you know, like this guy exists out there on the internet. So like, there's got to be people doing this. And so I was a pretty tech savvy kid. I went on the internet and I said, hey, extreme pogo sticking. And a website popped up called xpogo.com. And they had an internet forum. They had an online forum with a bunch of people who were doing tricks on pogo sticks.
Oh, wow.
So I just like yeah, pretty young, right? This is like the crazy like generation we live in, right? Like where it's like I was like 9 years old on the internet talking to strangers about pogo sticks. But it was super cool, and I met like a ton of my best friends nowadays from that. And that's basically how I got into pogo sticking. I just like started talking to these people, posting videos on this forum, posting clips, and then eventually like meeting up with people and going to pogo stick, and then. I can keep yapping. At like 16, I turned pro. I went to the World Championships for the first time and did pretty well. And then the company Xpogo, they were running stunt pogo shows all around the country, doing NBA halftime shows, NFL halftime shows, all sorts of different crazy state fairs and stuff. And so at 16, I went pro. I was sponsored by the pogo stick company that makes my pogo sticks, and I was traveling the country, jumping on my pogo stick, doing shows for people.
That's
which
crazy.
was super, super fun. And yeah, that was my story with pogo sticking.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh man, I see peeps in the chat. Desmond Cole's in the chat. What's up? He goes, my guy, Pogo. What's going on? And said he's gonna listen to this while he shovel. Be careful. It's very like icy and very bad out there, so please be careful.
Dude, be careful, shovels.
Maybe you could figure out like how you could do something cool with like the pogo stick and shoveling. Maybe, you know, like okay, cool.
I like it. It would be tough. I'm going up and down. I'd have to like it'd be like a really quick scoop at the bottom of the jump. I don't know.
But you'll be breaking the ice, which might help him like make it a little bit easier. Or, like... Good cop, bad cops in the chat. What's up? He goes, could not find an anagram question, but just discovered Milo is a chocolate-based drink. So what's Milo's favorite drink?
What's my favorite drink? Okay. The question is like, are we talking like non-alcoholic or alcoholic? Because there's two different answers. And the non-alcoholic answer is Mountain Dew Baja Blast. And that is by far and away my favorite drink, non-alcoholic drink. Alcoholic drink is an old fashioned. I'm a big whiskey guy. So that is the way to go for me.
That's awesome. Cookout Packer goes, oh crap, this is the pogo stick guy. Those clips are awesome. Pretty sure I watched them on Limitless this weekend too. You did.
You did. Tell me.
You did. So let's segue into that. That's a great way to segue into like Limitless Wrestling, which is amazing. I will always put over Randy. Like, I love what he's doing. Like, I got to get back up there. Like, I always say that. Mm-hmm. Like, so he's doing amazing things with Limitless Wrestling. But you got to team up with Jermaine Marbury, which I still have to put him on my podcast. So stay tuned, guys. I got to have that happen soon. And you guys, you know, swipe right, you know. And I was like, I don't know, maybe I should swipe left, but I don't know. Ricky, I might swipe right a little bit. I love that. So yeah, talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, last year I had set some goals for myself, right? I wanted to wrestle 50 matches. I wanted to debut in like 10 different promotions, things like that. And I actually ended up hitting a lot of my goals. And one of my stretch goals was actually to debut at Limitless. I went to Limitless was the first show outside of Chaotic Wrestling, which is my home promotion, that I went to after I debuted. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Limitless has a huge reputation in the New England indie wrestling scene, and is so well known for like running these phenomenal shows with the best wrestlers in New England and around the country and around the world. Honestly, Randy brings in some of the best talent in independent wrestling. And, I knew from the day I stepped foot into a Limitless Wrestling show that like that was where I wanted to be. Like, I want to be at Limitless Wrestling. I want to be wrestling there. And when Randy hit me up for the opportunity for the Rumble, I was ecstatic. I was like, yeah, let's do it. I'm so in. And I knew that I had to like make an impact, right? I was like, I gotta do what I gotta do. And making the entrance on the pogo stick was what got me around. And then Randy hit me up and he was like, hey, I got this idea for like a tag team match. So he was like, I'm looking for opponents for Swipe Right. He goes, I got Jermaine Marbury booked. He goes, I think we could have a really fun tag team with two exciting baby faces of you and Jermaine put together against Swipe Right. And I said, that sounds like the greatest idea I've ever heard. I love Jermaine and his gimmick and the basketball gimmick. It's incredible. It's so genius, and he's been doing such awesome things around New England that I was like, I had wrestled on shows with Jermaine, and I was like, yeah, 100%, let's do it. This sounds incredible. And then we had the match this past Saturday, and it lived up to all of my expectations. It was like one of the most fun matches I have ever wrestled in my entire life. Like, obviously, like, as much as we love to hate Ricky and Brad, they're WWE ID for a reason, right? They're incredible athletes and incredible talents. And getting to do all of my silly pogo nonsense with them was a ton of fun. And they helped get us over really well. So I love that match. And we nailed the pogo stick alley-oop dunk, which was all I ever wanted in my wrestling career. So.
It's crazy. There's just like amazing things like going on. Like, I feel like this could be like the tag team that we all needed, and like I hope it like continues at Limitless and be just kind of like fun.
We'll see.
So, or maybe you guys could like take it on the road and like, you know.
Yeah, I don't know.
You never know. See. Like,
yeah,
it's so crazy. So we'll see. You know, like maybe you guys put it out there. You know, like it might actually like happen. Jeff in the chat says, "I'm at work, but I'll rewatch. Give Milo my word." Damn. Good Cop Bad Cop says, I love they left the cameras on at the intervals so you could watch people selling merch. Yeah, we did. We saw like in the 15-minute like intermission that like all you guys are like around the ring, which it was kind of cool. Usually like you see the matches. Yeah, usually they put matches. That. Yeah. So you see like Gabby talking to fans and everything like that. Good Cop Bad Cop also says, doesn't need reading out, but who was the wrestler in the match that looked like a young Matt Damon? Which one? The one that he wrestled, or in another?
Brad Baylor, maybe?
That's what I'm thinking. Baylor. He's thinking.
I'm thinking it's Brad Baylor.
Yeah. It's funny because when I first saw Brad Baylor, all I can think of is that he looks like a Ken doll. Like when I first saw him or whatever, and I'm like, he looks like a Florida, like a Malibu, like Ken doll. But a shout out to him too. Again, like you said, obviously, like they're doing something right. The WWE ID. I just watched him and Trayvon Jordan go head to head at Fight Life, which was insane. So that clip's going viral on my YouTube channel. So I put it as a reel. So if you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. But that's been floating around too. So. Okay, so this I know we'll talk about chaotic and everything soon, but let's do this. So for a fan, obviously, like I said, I've seen you in person a bunch of times at different promotions and everything like that. But for a fan who's tuning into this podcast and never seen you wrestle before, what's the go-to match that you would recommend for them to watch to become an instant fan?
It's me against Dijak, I think. At Rad Pro Wrestling.
Yeah.
It's my other character, right? It's Lynx Panther, who is essentially Milo Mirra, but loves Mountain Dew, which is not too far away from my real life persona. And Dijak plays a Russian villain called Volk Malika Sarbamba. But yeah, I think we had an awesome match at Rad Pro, Forever Rad 95. It's on IWTV if you want to check it out. We had a phenomenal match. I hit a pogo stick cutter from the outside of the ring to the inside the ring on Dijak. I think it just kind of encapsulates the pogo stick character, the silliness of Rad Pro, the silliness, but also seriousness of Rad Pro, right? I think a lot of people and not a lot of people, right? I think a lot of people have bought in at this point for Rad Pro, right? But I think when it was starting, people were oh, it's these silly gimmicks, right? Oh, is the wrestling that serious? But I think if you watch a Rad Pro show, it's one of the most exciting and fun shows to watch in all of independent wrestling. There's so much fun character, but everybody who's on the roster is a phenomenal wrestler and can put on great matches, right? So you're getting all this entertainment of the crazy characters and great wrestling matches, which is all you can ask for. And I think that match with Dijak that I had kind of really showcases a lot of my really the greatest hits of my stuff so far. And I think it's probably the best match I've had in my career so far. So I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna I'm gonna go back to Rad Pro because I want to add on to that, but I want to shout out because Dante Drago is the best, and he's in the chat, and he says tell Milo that it's Dante from wrestling. Go Bills, and hi Tiff.
Go Bills.
I love that. So we love Dante. And Dante's been on Rad Pro Botanicals. Pretty much going on over there. Max Smashmaster has been on this podcast, and we completely broke down I love what he does for Rad Pro. It's completely different. And if you're not watching it, you should be watching it. It's on IWTV. So definitely check that out. Check out the interviews with Max Smashmaster. What I like about it also too is that it's forcing you guys, right? To be a completely different character, and it's kind of making you break out of your comfort zone to do something else, which I think is smart as hell, so something completely different. You can go see your favorite people, but they're playing something completely different. So maybe you're used to somebody being a face and maybe they're playing a heel at Rad Pro, but it's in the 90s going on and everything like that, which is really cool. So
I mean to add on to that, when I started at Rad Pro, I was still really young in my career, right? And I had only ever actually wrestled heel in Chaotic, right? So I had wrestled heel. I had never used the pogo stick before I joined Rad Pro, right? And Scott approached me and was or Smashmaster approached me and he was hey, do you want to do the pogo stick face gimmick at Rad Pro? And I was yeah, let's do it. And I had never, that was the first time I had ever worked face in front of a crowd. Right. And so that really broke me out of my comfort zone, like you're saying, and it really allowed me to think about how I could actually use the pogo stick as a gimmick and bring that into things outside of Rad Pro, which is at this point, right? Lynx Panther and Milo Mirra are not too far away from each other in character, right? They're pretty similar. And that's just from I got given this sort of different gimmick at Rad Pro, and I kind of realized that a lot of the stuff I did there worked and got over with the fans. And I was well, if it's getting over the fans here, like why not bring it elsewhere? So it helps us break out of our comfort zones and like try new things that could work elsewhere as well. So yeah, it's been Rad Pro's amazing.
It's crazy. I think one of the other things too is like, not this past Rad Pro. I mean, I was at the last two. Last year, so 2023 or whatever, Wrestleville, was it right? Yeah. And then you and Bryce Donovan like teamed up. I always forget the names for like the characters for like Rad Pro. I'm so bad. Like
Chance Paradox.
There you go. So, but even that was cool because it was such a different pairing. And then he's wearing the gloves with the lights on the fingers and everything like that. And then at New Year's Eve, then it's like he attacked you, and it was like. Yeah. So now
Chance got lost in the cyberverse on Lynx, like he got lost in the hacking, and then he came back from the cyberverse and decided to attack Lynx. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah,
it was messed up.
I guess we'll see. So make sure you're watching Rad Pro Wrestling. So such great stuff. Everything Pro Wrestling. Conrad, what's going on? Make sure you give him a subscribe. Also, if you're not, he's got you covered. WWE. He's got you covered with everything. I got you covered in the indies. He's got you covered with everything else. So go give him some love in the chat. Who else is in the chat? Jeff says Rad Pro is awesome. And then what else? I saw something else. Where was it? Ed says it's fun to work both heel and face in different promotions. And which fan reactions do you prefer? People yelling and cursing you, and the GGC. Ooh. So which one do you like the best of like reaction wise?
Oh man, it depends on the week, to be honest. I don't know. It's like it like I love doing both, right? I mean, I think at this point, I think I'm a little bit. I actually don't know. I think I'm a little bit more comfortable still with being a heel because that's how I started.
Right.
So like I think my emotes and everything with the GGC character is like I a little bit more finely tuned than my Extreme Athlete character at the moment. And I'm still kind of figuring out like, what does Milo do in certain situations, right? With the pogo stick and face character. Whereas as a heel in GGC, it's like I'm pretty locked into that character and that faction. So I'm like, when I walk through the curtain, that flip switches, and it's just like I'm the evil, miraculous Milo Mirra, and I am trying to ingrain everybody into my cult and destroy anybody in my path. But yeah, I don't know. I think I will say that like there's nothing quite like flying off my pogo stick and hearing the pop of the crowd when that happens. Like the adrenaline rush I get is insane. So I think that's probably my favorite type of reaction from the crowd.
So crazy.
But I do love doing both. I love working heel as well. It's really great when you really notice that you got under a fan's skin like just enough that they're yelling at you, and then you say something to them, and then they just stop, and you're like, oh, I got you with that one. You don't know what to say back to me.
I think wrestlers like kind of gave up with me because I clap back, and then my goal sometimes is to break. Like the kayfabe sometimes. So I've done it. I've been very successful at a lot of promotions. So now I have people who just walk away from me and don't even acknowledge me anymore. Charles Mason was one. I think Logan Black was one. Like they just like shake their heads at me now. Like, but yeah, they gave up on me or whatever like that. So, but yeah. That's so crazy. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Chaotic Wrestling. They're doing great things up there. I'm glad I got to come up it's been a while for me to go up to Chaotic. It was a couple of years. So if I got to come up a couple, was it October? I would love to come more. I wish I lived in Mass because I feel like there's a lot of great wrestling in Massachusetts. Sure. And Chaotic was the first promotion that I ever came up to for Chaotic Wrestling, and I've even been to NEPA and everything. I call them, they make fun of me, and I'm like, well, I call it that New York, that accent, whatever, I don't care. The New England Pro Wrestling Academy, I like to call it NEPA, so whatever. I don't care. That's how I say it or whatever. but they're doing great things and producing amazing talent, and people have been on this podcast through the years, and we're going to continue going on with that. So talk to us a little bit about Chaotic Wrestling, New England Pro Wrestling Academy, the GGC, and all that.
Yeah, I mean, so I started training at the New England Pro Wrestling Academy in August of 2022. I attended a fantasy camp, which we have another one coming up in February. If you're interested in learning how to professional wrestle, you should go. And it's how I started. But I started training in August of 22, and I was training for about 6 months when Chase brought me up to his office, Chase Del Monte, and he said, "Hey, have you thought about getting gear? I might have a match for you this weekend." And I was like, hold the phone. I don't have any gear. I don't have a name. I don't have any sort of thing figured out about a character. But yeah, sure. I'm not going to turn down an opportunity. I'll wrestle. So I in like a week, I managed to get like a pair of tights made. I picked out a name. It was Stephen Payne. Terrible name. Absolutely awful. I hate it. But that's what I debuted as. So, and then, I had my first match at Chaotic Wrestling in Goffstown, New Hampshire against Shannon Levangie. So that went pretty well. And then from there, Chase approached me and he said, "Hey, like, Jeriel Rivera is doing this whole God's Greatest Creation gimmick, and we're thinking about turning it into a faction. And he needs a tag team partner. And I think you could do really well getting with Jeriel. Jeriel had a few years of experience at that point. I was one match in, so pairing me up with somebody who had a couple years experience and could kind of show me the ropes and lead me in learning how to be on shows was great. So Jerry and I became a tag team. I think our second match ever was a tag team title match against Shot Through the Heart. And then from there, the group's kind of just built. And it's gone through a couple iterations. Jeriel got injured, and Armani Chaos joined the group. And Armani and I took a ride as the Chaotic Tag Team Champions until I eventually turned on Armani because he didn't really fit with the vision of the GGC. And then we gained Max Smashmaster as Arcturus, our leader, and then we gained some orphans of cause, and we indoctrinated some young talent into our fold by making them drink the elixir and join the GGC. So. We have a fun little cult going on at Chaotic Wrestling, and we're trying to get everybody involved. So
I love that. Wait, let me give love in this chat because this chat is awesome. We got Thomas from BMT's in the chat. He goes, "What a dreamboat." Uh-oh. Is he on the list of husbands pretty much? Jose's in the chat and he's breaking me. He's saying buzz. So I'm going to go back. I'll go back to Focus Pro because not Focus Fight Life this week because there was a food truck and the guy gave us buzzards and Jose goes, "Oh, so I'm gonna put this in my pants for it to vibrate," and I lost my shit and I was like, "That's it." Tristan Kyle's in the chat. He says GGC versus SSC. Silver Stream Collective versus you guys.
I'll have to pitch it. I like that idea.
Thomas says, "Are you guys talking about wrestling or pitching Netflix documents?"
I think wrestling. I think, but it could. I mean, maybe the GGC will one day grow beyond wrestling. Who knows?
Oh, we're gonna get on Netflix, subscription. You never know. It could be something that you might see it on IWTV maybe or whatever. Jose's dying of it. I can't. I love all you guys. You guys are amazing. So there's about 50 people watching in the chat. Make sure you share the stream, hit the like button, all that stuff. I appreciate every one of you guys. So, so Focus Pro. that I brought up also too. So I got to finally get up there. They're doing great stuff as well. It's crazy. So you worked Lucas Chase. Like, I like to call him Man Bun Lucas, but I feel like he's getting away from Man Bun Lucas, and that's crazy. But you guys really went wild, and I mean, he was bleeding a little bit. What did you do?
Yeah. We were I
mean, he probably deserved it, but you know.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I threw a wild forearm that caught him in the nose, and sadly that really messed up his nose at the moment, and he just started gushing.
Yeah.
Lucas is awesome. I had so much fun working with Lucas, and we had a really, honestly, a great match. I thought it was a lot of fun, and like the blood added to it, which was nice. Whenever you get that opportunity, when it's an accident, you kind of got to use it and try and make the visuals happen so that the fans see it.
Yeah.
And we had a great match. I thought. Actually, a funny story about that match is like I go out and make my entrance, right? At Focus Pro, I'm a heel, and with the pogo stick and being a heel, it can be hard at times. But I go to jump onto the apron with my pogo stick, and I go to jump on the pogo stick, and so my pogo stick runs on compressed air, and I have to fill it up with air before the show. And anybody who's been in the locker room with me knows that I'm loud and annoying because I have an air compressor that I run to fill up my pogo stick, and it's loud and takes like 5 minutes to fill up my pogo stick. But I forgot to check if there was air pressure in my pogo stick before I went out, and I go to jump on my pogo stick to get on the apron, and I go, oh shit. There's no air in this
You were
thing.
showing off too much before the show because I was taking video. I was taking video of you, so you were showing off too much.
I was jumping too much before the show, and I was like, I get out there, and I'm like, well, the pogo stick's messed up. I think it's fine for the thing we have called, so let's just let it ride. And then it ended up working out, but that was a funny story, is that my pogo stick was like basically broken for that match, and we ended up making it work. But I don't think the fans knew, which is good.
They could just go with it. They were having a good time. Like,
yeah.
It was a crazy show. So, and shout out to Lucas Chase, because I feel like he doesn't get enough love, and he's just doing great things in the independent scene.
Yeah, he's
killing
Lucas
it.
is awesome. Lucas and I have worked a few times, but that was actually the first time we've gotten to have like a more serious match.
Mm-hmm.
We've worked together at Wrestling with Character a few times, which is more of like a kids focused show. So we've done a lot more like fun, silly spot and character stuff at Wrestling with Character, which is super fun, and we have a blast doing that. But like, we were both excited when we were talking to each other in the locker room. We were both super excited to get to work like a more serious match together. So I hope it lived up to his expectations.
It was good. After the show, I was like walking around, and then like I walked to like check on him, like, you're good? He goes, Tiffany, he was like, in that moment, he goes, I'm gushing blood. He goes, and all I hear is, he's like, I fucking heard you. He was I was like, damn, I get called out. I get called out by all these wrestlers or whatever like that. I was like, I care, man. Like, whatever. Like, I don't like to see my friends get hurt. I don't care. Whatever. Call me out. So.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any pre-match rituals?
Pre-match rituals. I pace a lot. I'm a big pacer. If you ever see me like right before my match behind the curtain, I am like just sprinting back and forth, and I just pace. The other thing I do, what else do I do? I don't really have anything like super serious that I do. Mm-hmm. It's mostly just like getting in my head and just like calling the match as much as I can and pacing is pretty much it. I don't have any like things I do specifically before the match, to be honest.
That's okay. We've heard some crazy pre-match rituals on here about things being kept in suitcases and, weird things or whatever like that.
I've seen some crazy pre-match rituals,
Yeah?
so I can imagine.
Like Alec Price had even like talked about like, you know, he's real crazy behind the scenes before his matches, and you know, like I've witnessed it and I've seen that, so
yeah.
it's pretty interesting.
Alec was the first one that came to mind when you said pre-match ritual. I was like, Alec Price came to my mind. He's always he has a great pre-match ritual. I won't spoil it for anybody, but it's great.
Yeah, so check out that interview. So like we've had Alec on the pod. All right, what is your favorite snack?
My favorite snack is Nerds gummy clusters. I love them to death. I always try to bring like usually I bring with me like a family size pack of Nerds gummy clusters to shows with me to eat after my match, because I always love to have like sugar after my matches. Because usually I'm bad about eating on show days, so I like don't eat all day and then I go wrestle, and then I'm like I come back to the locker room and I'm just like gassed and I need to eat something.
Right.
So I eat Nerds gummy clusters, but I always am. If you find me in a locker room after my match, I likely have a giant bag of Nerds gummy clusters, and I'm handing them out to people around the locker room. So that's the way it goes.
It's crazy. Max in the chat, she said, "Can't be beat, won't be beat." Okay.
All right.
I love it. All right, so let's do some of these fan tweets. I got one from Russ. He goes, "Do you like Miracle Whip or mayonnaise?"
Miracle Whip or mayonnaise? It's mayonnaise for sure. I'm trying to think of the first time I had Miracle Whip, and I feel like my mom like bought it one day, and my dad like made a sandwich with it, and I remember taking a bite of a Miracle Whip on a sandwich instead of mayonnaise, and I was like, "What is this, dude?" I was like, this is not it looks like mayonnaise, but this is not mayonnaise. And I was very appalled, and I said, "Don't ever put this on my sandwich ever again." So yeah, I'm definitely a mayonnaise guy.
I don't know why he told me to ask that. I forgot why we were talking, and then he was like, "Make sure you." I'm like, "Okay," like I didn't understand why. I'm like, "Okay." I was like, "I'll make sure I'll ask that or whatever." Like that. But okay, so he's got his answer. This is actually a good one. This one, shout out to Dave. He says, "How do you think you can make wrestling a more positive space to be in?"
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Wrestling a more positive space to be in. I always strive to be as nice as I can be to everybody at the show, right? Like, and like as accommodating as I can be, and all those sorts of things, right? Like, so I always try to say thank you to everybody who's working on the show, no matter what they're doing, like the ring crew, everybody who's working production, trying to say thank you and just like appreciating what all of those people do for wrestling shows is, I think, super important in helping make it more positive, right? Like it's a lot of the time a thankless position at shows, but like if that ring didn't get set up, or like that production crew wasn't making me look as good as they do, that would be, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. I think the other thing is like a thing I always try to do with new students at New England Pro Wrestling Academy is just like trying to just show them the ropes and being patient with all of the newer students, right? Like something that like was really great for me when I was starting was like we would have open ring on Wednesday nights, and a lot of the veteran guys would just like, I'd be trying stuff, or like I'd want to learn new things, and there was like the culture of like just ask a more veteran person, and usually if they're not doing anything, they'd be willing to help. And I've kind of tried to just like pass that along as I've become a more veteran presence at NEPWA now that I've been around for a couple years. And just like whenever we have new students, just trying to help them learn pro wrestling, learn everything about it, right? Learn the business side of things, learn how to actually do all of the wrestling things, and being patient with them and helping them. I find that like if we help each other, then it becomes a more positive space as well. And yeah, always supporting the homies.
Yeah,
buying merch from my friends and wearing it all over the place, and retweeting everybody's stuff and hyping up the friends. So yeah, I think that's my thoughts on making wrestling a more positive space.
I love that. So that's that's pretty awesome. Oh, actually, so Andy's in the chat. He goes, "What's next for the GGC?"
What's next for the GGC? So I mean, we kind of set up some story at Pandemonium. So at Pandemonium, the collective of the GGC, the me, Jeriel, and our orphans, we took down Dijak in a 4v1 handicap match. So that was good, and that kind of helped establish the GGC some more. And then JT Dunn was making quite an interesting speech after losing to Ricky Smokes when he was attempting to become a 5-time chaotic heavyweight champion. And he didn't get to finish that speech. We came out, the GGC, and he was on the receiving end of a spear from Jeriel Rivera. So we'll have to see. I think the GGC might have some things to say to JT Dunn and his band of friends. So we'll see what happens. Tune in on January 31st for Chaotic Wrestling.
And if you're can't get tickets, you can't go there, or you don't live like in Massachusetts, then you can actually watch it on Twitch. And if you have Prime, you get a free subscription. You know, you can use your Prime to get a free script, and you know, you can chat with all the people that are live in the chat.
Then you can watch the VODs as well.
Yeah.
If you subscribe on Twitch, twitch.tv/chaotic wrestling.
Pretty cool. I'm usually in the chat. I'm a mod in the chat, so I'm usually in there like talking to people and gushing over bridges and all that fun stuff. So shout out to everybody with that. Let me backtrack a little bit. So since, you know, he was talking about like, you know, the positive influence in wrestling, what's very important on, you know, the Under Ropes and Indie Wrestling Corner and all that stuff like that is wrestling with positivity. So maybe something that you could share with us, you know, that we wouldn't know unless you shared it on this podcast, whether it's something that maybe you've done for a fan, maybe a fan's done for you, maybe a wrestler's done for you, maybe something that you've particularly done for a wrestler. So anything, you know, that comes to mind.
Yeah, I mean, I there's a few things that come to mind, right? Like, I think a lot of people, like, you know, you see the end product of what we put out, right? And there's a lot of work that goes into like a lot of the stuff that we put out behind the scenes. And as a new wrestler, all of those things to think about, like character, social media, all of that stuff is so hard and scary, right? Like, it's like, what do I post? Like, do I post promo pics? Like, how do I get my name out there? How do I talk to promoters? How do I do all of this stuff? And so that is like always, that was like a terrifying thing when you first start wrestling. It's like, how do I do these things? And I think like a really positive person or people in my career were Aaron Rourke and Becca. They were both incredibly important to me making my name as a professional wrestler. Becca really helped me with like developing my character, developing like how my gear looks, developing like how I should talk to promoters, how I should reach out to promoters, going to shows. Becca would always bring me to shows in her car, like always invite me to go to shows. Same with Aaron Rourke. Aaron was very helpful in helping me learn how to actually wrestle. So like, obviously my trainers are incredible. I have incredible trainers at New England Pro Wrestling Academy, but like class is just one part of training and we have to train outside of that. And Aaron would take a lot of his free time whenever I would ask him and spend extra time with me one-on-one, and we would train together. And Aaron is an incredible talent. One of the best in New England and one of the best in the country, I personally think. And being able to learn and train with him was super positive and super helpful and super awesome. So yeah, I think like those are like two people that like I don't interact with a ton on shows, so I don't know if a lot of people would know that I'm really good friends with them. But like Becca and Aaron were like two of my biggest role models and so helpful in the early stages of my career. So thank you to them for that. And that's like a positive thing to share.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. It's funny because I think like, you know, you touch about this, and I feel like this is a conversation that I have with a lot of wrestlers is, you know, and I wouldn't know because of the fact that obviously like I'm not going and training. I'm just a podcaster and stuff like that. And I'm just like involved all over the place. So it's like talking to wrestlers and being behind the scenes, you know, I see things. But I think one of the things like kind of like caught on is, you guys are getting like trained and stuff like that, but I think there needs to be like probably like a class or two here and there of how to put all this stuff together. It's like, how do you approach a promoter, you know, and it's like, how do you do social media? How do you cut a promo? And I think that's maybe like one, and again, it's not a negative thing, you know, but I just think it's something that, you know, maybe that, you know, even us be talking about this podcast right now, like talking about it, that maybe it needs to be brought to light a little bit more, that maybe that's something that, you know, could be more of a positive thing added into wrestling, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because the wrestling itself is it's very dangerous and very like we're putting on like a live action performance, which is like so hard. Right. And we have to spend so much time training to like do the actual wrestling that like a lot of this like other stuff that like you can kind of do on your own. We usually don't focus on it as much, but like it is something that we do occasionally focus on it, right? Like like at NEPWA, I know for sure we focus on like there occasionally it's like if you're going to do a class match, right? It's like, yeah, you're going to do a class match, but also like you need to cut a 1.5-minute promo beforehand setting up the match, right? So like we kind of mix it in at times. But yeah, I think to your point, like social media and things, that's all stuff that like I had to figure out like on my own or talking to my other wrestling friends who are already popular and successful on social media, right? So like it's something that you have to like, and it's all trial and error and trying to figure out what works. And me and I actually, I'll bring up Jose Zamora is another trainee at New England Pro Wrestling Academy, and he's kind of just getting onto the scene for his wrestling on shows, but he's big on social media because he's been posting his training videos, and me and him talk all the time about like different kind of posting strategies and like when we should do things and how we should post things and what gets better interaction and how we should do that, and like we always are collaborating on all sorts of things like that. So yeah, it definitely can be something that like could be taught a little bit more.
See, sure. So maybe you should like run a seminar and you know get paid because clearly you're doing something right because you're getting these massive views and stuff like that. Yeah. So, I mean, me, you, and Landon were just talking about that at DPW like the other day about like, you know, views and clips and everything like that. But I feel like, you know, it's kind of like a struggling art, you know, as a wrestler. And I feel like, you know, a lot of people don't get seen because like things are not floating, you know, like on social media. It's like, well, how am I supposed to find you? You know, like I've found wrestlers on social media that I had no clue about until like maybe I've seen a clip of them wrestling, and maybe like you know wrestler X shared it, so that's why I saw it in the first place, you know. So yeah, very important. So like I feel like, you know, again, not negative, all positive here.
Yeah I mean, like I think like another thing is just like making all of those things, all of like your social media and everything as accessible as possible, right? Like I kind of so like my shoot job outside of here is I'm a software engineer. So I have a lot of experience with the internet and technology and coding and all of that stuff. So one of the first things I did when I changed my name to Milo Mirra was I made a website. Like I made a website for myself, and I said, I'm going to snag this domain name, milomirra.com, and I'm going to make it so like if somebody Googles Milo Mirra, this website's going to pop up. It has a link to my Instagram. It has a link to my Twitter. It has a link to matches that you can watch on YouTube that are just embedded in the page. And it has a little like promo. It has my promo photo and a little small resume and ways to contact me. And it just makes, it's like one place where like somebody can see my stuff and find me, which is, I think making yourself as accessible as possible to fans and promoters and everything is like super important. So yeah.
Love that. And that's linked in the description below, so you can click that. You know? We're pretty savvy here too. So I love that. So I have 2 final questions for you. If you guys have anything else in the chat, feel free, drop them into the chat. So we just started 2025. We got a whole year pretty much. What's some goals you want to accomplish this year?
Oh man, one of the goals I want to accomplish this year is I want to wrestle internationally. So whether that's Canada or flying over to Europe, I don't know. We'll see. But I am trying very actively to make that happen. I think another, I I have a list of singles matches that I want. I tend to keep it close to the chest. I don't really reveal a lot of it because I want it to happen organically. But yeah, there's like a bunch of singles matches that I want that in 2025 that I hope will happen and I think might happen. And as they happen, I usually post about it and I go, hey, this was on my list. But
Damn, you're not gonna manifest on this podcast and like put it out there?
Man, I can put some things out there.
Manifest
right?
it.
I think it's pretty obvious. Like, well, maybe not obvious, but like, there's a lot of people who have wrestled in Chaotic and like other promotions that I've wrestled at that I want to wrestle. So last year, a couple of people on my list that I got to wrestle. I got to wrestle Dijak, which was one of the big, one of the huge ones on my list that I didn't think was going to happen, but it ended up happening, which was awesome. Anthony Green, I got to wrestle. He was also on my list of people. And Seabass Finn was another one. Seabass is one of my best friends in wrestling, and getting to wrestle him was super, super fun. This year, let's see. Another good friend of mine that I haven't wrestled in singles is Mortar. I want that to happen really bad. I think Mortar and I could put on a banger of a match together. TJ Crawford is another one that I really, really want to get in the ring with. Alec Price is another one I really, really want to get in the ring with. It almost happened at Rad Pro, and actually is how Dijak happened. But yeah, I would love to get in the ring with Alec Price. And yeah, I think those are the three I'll put out there.
I like that.
Mortar, TJ Crawford, and Alec Price. So.
Damn. Now he put it out there, so it's gonna happen. It's just gonna happen. It's just what it is.
So.
I'm always about manifesting, and then things happen all the time. Good Cop Bad Cop says, I bet getting a pogo stick in the overhead bin will be a challenge.
I have to check it. I've been through this all before, right? Like, so like it does not go in the overhead bin. It cannot go on the plane with me. I have to check. I have so actually how I travel with is I have a golf club carrying case that, like, as long as you have sports equipment in it, it doesn't count as oversized baggage. This is a fun hack with the thing. So as long as it's under 50 pounds and it has sports equipment, it's not oversized baggage. So I use that to travel with my pogo stick. Usually I'll pack all my clothes, my pogo stick in there, and then I'll have a carry-on as well, which I think will be used for my gear when I end up traveling. But yeah, so I have methods of travel. I've been through all this with pogo shows before, so there's that.
I love that. I definitely love that. You always come up with interesting stuff, Good Cop, Bad Cop. So like, really, I'm really here for it. So. All right, so my final question, and again, if you guys got any other question, drop it into the chat, then we'll talk about what he's got coming up or whatever. So again, we have like fans, that, talk about, like maybe they want to get into wrestling, or, maybe they started, like maybe it's like all amateur pretty much, like here and there. Mm-hmm. What's a piece of advice, because you're seasoned, what's a piece of advice that you would give, those fans?
Go to a wrestling school. Find a wrestling school by you that has like drop-in classes, or like a way for you to a way for you to tour it and see what wrestling's like, and go there and just try it, right? Like the hardest thing about getting into pro wrestling is taking that first step and that like dive into just like doing it, right? Like it's a scary thing. Like wrestling school can be expensive, but if you really think that like wrestling is something that you want to do, there's no better way to do it than to just go to a wrestling school, right? So like New England Pro Wrestling Academy runs fantasy camps every 6 months, and that was how I started. It was just like it's like $70. You drop in for the day, you get like 6 hours of pro wrestling, like basic training, and you take a bump, you learn how to run the ropes, you do some basic like ring movements, right? You learn basic holds, right? That sort of thing is such a great like intro into pro wrestling, and like from that day of training, you will know whether wrestling is for you or not, right? If you want to keep pursuing it, because I think it's usually when people take their first bump is when they know whether they can continue with wrestling or not, because it doesn't feel great. But I think find a wrestling school, find a reputable wrestling school that has like a promotion attached to it and trainers who are known around the business, and just go and train. That's really the only way to do it.
Chase Del Monte's been on this podcast before, and he's talked about the fantasy camps and the New England Pro Wrestling Academy, and again, even Max Master has been on here a couple of times too. So you can check out those interviews. They go a little more deeper into it. If you're curious, if you haven't watched it, just go type it in on the Indie Wrestling Corner. You'll definitely find those interviews. They'll pop up as well. So that's pretty important.
If you're in the New England area, if you're in the Boston area, like we're having one on February 15th. I think it's the Sunday of that weekend. I think it's the 15th or the 16th.
Yeah, the 16th. That's Sunday.
16th.
Okay, yeah.
There you go. Perfect. It's that Sunday.
Yeah.
We're having one. Sign up. I think spots are filling pretty quick, but like you come, try wrestling.
Pretty cool.
And there's nowhere better to do it than New England Pro Wrestling Academy.
Yeah, it's great.
My trainers are incredible. So
they have the gym in there. They have the 2 rings in there. You have great trainers in there. So definitely go check that out. I even tell like the regular wrestlers, whether they're from New York, New Jersey, wherever it is. I mean, you can drop in, like Chase has talked about that also too. Like if you want to come like train for like a day or 2 or whatever like that,
for sure.
You could do that. And then you can do like a punch card. Like we talked about all this stuff. So again, if you want more information on that too, check out that interview as well. So what do you have coming up that, if the fans, they want to come see you, support you, all that fun stuff?
Yeah. So, I have my next date in January is actually the 31st. It's Chaotic Wrestling in Watertown. I think it's in Watertown. I should probably double check that. It's Watertown or Tewksbury. Those are our 2 main venues.
Yeah.
So I have, it's Watertown. I was right. We have, we have Chaotic Wrestling Watertown January 31st. And then I'm going to be around. We have February. I usually make my schedule post on my social media on the 1st of every month. February I have a lot of dates coming up. I'm going to be in Chaotic a bunch. I'm going to be in APW. I'm coming back to APW next month. Rad Pro Wrestling, of course. Focus Pro in March. Maybe some Limitless dates coming up as well. We'll have to see.
So tell everybody where they can follow you again. So like if they're not, they should be following you, but if not, so that they can find these posts and your 1 million view pogo clips and all that.
Yeah. So you can find me on pretty much all social media, Milo Mirra _. That's my tag on everything. I'm pretty active. I'm very active on Instagram, very active on TikTok, very active on X as well. So you can find me on those 3 platforms, probably the best.
Awesome. Again, all those links are in the description below and his website and all that fun stuff. So you can click on that. So, It's been amazing chat with you. I appreciate that you came on here. Very much.
I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been fun. I appreciate everybody that came into the chat and started busting chops and, Dante and Dez and, BMT. Like, you guys are awesome. I appreciate it. If you guys are watching this later, make sure you hit a like. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you leave me some comments. I'll be back next week with Ben Bishop. That's a big bish, as they were posting on the Rad Pro show.
That's another one I really want this year. It's me and Ben Bishop, me and Big Trouble. I think we would have a very fun match.
Yeah, like it's so crazy. I'm like, damn, he needs to stand next to me more. He makes me look skinny. Like
he's a big guy.
He's a huge. Big guy. I was like, oh my god. I was like, it's so. I'm glad that I finally got to meet him at Rad Pro and beyond on New Year's Eve. And it's funny because he popped me because he recognized me before he even said anything. So he popped me big. So he will be on next Monday. So you guys make sure you subscribe and all that fun stuff. But yeah, so support Milo and the pogo, and maybe we'll get some new pogo. Maybe you should start selling some merch as some pogo sticks or something like that.
I would keep an eye out on my social media. I have some things in the works, and there might be a merch website coming up very, very soon. So keep an eye out.
I love that. I love that. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. So you guys know the drill. Stay safe, support independent wrestling, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good night.
As a tag team, I don't think we could ever him